Never late, always on time. You know, I'm always there when you call, always on time. I gave you my heart, so baby, baby. See, you know, if you don't know what song that is, then you're probably too old or too young for this channel. You know, you got to be right here in the middle. You know, you got to know what's going on here. But what's up, everyone? How's everyone doing today? I am sorry if I'm you know, it's gonna take me a little bit of time to warm up today. When I say I just got off of work, I just got off of work. So I just started working. It was the end of a sprint for us, just finishing up some loose ends, and I may even have to finish up some loose ends early in the morning, but that's okay. We are here, we're ready. I made it on time, you know, wasn't even late. So, you know, let's give all of ourselves a round of applause, specifically for me not being late, rather than anything else. But tonight we are back with another week of deCoded. What week is this? This is week 6. I think it's week 6. Feels right, sounds right. I get the days mixed up for everything, but we're almost there. We're getting pretty far. Tonight also is the night we're going to talk about what we're going to do during our 100 days of code. Technically that starts tomorrow, but you know, 100 days of code starts now. You know, don't stress out about it. I know some people are super excited about it. Yes, be super excited about it. If you're not super excited about it, no big deal. But before the night's over, I want you to work yourself up so that when we get to the end, you can commit to getting better at the craft, which is programming, which is coding, which is technology. You know, whether or not it's every single day, you know, it's okay. We're just going to commit to 100 days of progress in getting better. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But how's everyone doing tonight? What's up, IJB that boy? Well, thank you so much for the 2 months in a row. Appreciate you. Definitely glad to have you. What's up, Apogee? How you doing? Did you miss a miggity Matt? That feels right. 3 feels right. I think I like 3 and not 4. I don't know if I could do the 4th one. It might sound a little bit weird, but I like it. And I also appreciate the way that she spelled miggity with 2 G's. Not necessarily sure if that's the correct spelling, but I know that when I'm looking at that right now, if I see 1 G, that would bother me. So I thank you for appeasing my senses. What's up, Imogene? How are you? What's up, bevy of codes? Welcome, Petrie, or Peter Yield. Oh, okay, see, not Petery, just Peter Yield. That makes sense. How you doing? What's up, YGBSM? Shayan, how are you today? Good to see you. Yeah, you already dropped the link. Absolutely. Like I said, it's all, we're not here to censor. Yes, people do drop stupid things in here, but at the end of the day, you know, we want to keep the chat as clean and as constructive as possible. But you know, if someone drops something crazy, you know, call it out. We'll delete it if it's wild. But I can't protect you all on the internet. You know, I can't protect you. You know, you got to learn how to spot the bad links. So share away. I'm pretty sure Nightbite is pretty open now. It should allow you to share whatever links you'd like. But come on, don't abuse it. Don't abuse your power. You know. The different tiers, I have nothing to give you for different tiers because I haven't had time to look into it. But yeah, I think it's just cost and emotes. What's up, Sharky? What's up, Andrew? How are you doing? Yeah, I don't have those emotes. Maybe I should get them. I don't know. I was surprised. I was happy about getting my first set of emotes because I didn't really know what emotes were, and now I'm excited about them. Pretty excited about them. What's up, TD Roque? That's not correct, but I tried it anyway, and welcome. Thank you so much for being around for 3 months and sticking around for that long through all of our foolishness and fun. Signing Matt, how you doing? Gyro type beat, 1000%. See, you know, Sharky's right. You know, you're right there. You're right there. Not too old, not too young. You know. How you doing, Sean? All right, man. How's everybody doing? Mr. Demon Wolf, thank you so much for the host. Good to see you. OG Jake, hola, welcome. Good, just everyone just come on in. Like I said, I'm just gonna take the first couple of minutes. I'm winding down a little bit from the day, dealing with a lot of what was I working on today? Finished up the sprint. I was working on some JavaScript, some Node, some, you know, I got hit with some async await problems, you know, just a little bit of had a little bit of race conditions going on, stuff like that today. So fighting through that, you know, that's not what I love to do, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do. So knocked out some of that stuff with a pretty big piece of functionality, high value piece of functionality that's kind of taken us years to get to. So that was fun, but it's a little bit exhausting. Just opening my eyes. The slides are there. I put them up very late. I'm sorry about that. Again, you know, I do have a day job. But tonight we're gonna be learning about object-oriented programming. And so this is always an interesting topic, and we're actually going to keep this relatively light in comparison to how much we covered for OOP in the Python bootcamp. The reason for that is, one, we're only covering this bootcamp's only 8 weeks instead of 12 weeks because there are more levels to the bootcamp. Tonight is to get you introduced. Tonight is to get you set up. You need to request access. I'll get you a link without requesting access, but tonight is just to get you your feet wet. This is a topic, if you read some of the things that who shared that, I think Peter, I don't know why I keep calling you Petrie. Peter shared a link. If you look at some of those jokes and those puns and stuff about object-oriented programming, you'll see that it's not always a loved piece of programming. It's not always a loved, craft. So yeah, just we just want to get our feet wet tonight and be introduced to it. Over your 100 days of code, though, I think you have the opportunity to really get up to speed on it and to dive deeper into it. But again, we're gonna get a taste tonight. We're gonna touch, feel, have a little fun with that. Nope, this is the wrong one. Mastermind is what we want, and we want to head over to DRIVE. Enter. All right, you see that? I know what I got to type in. It'll just pop up for me. Whenever I clear my cache, that's gonna really bother me that I can't type that in. But yeah. Head back down. Yeah, let me get you. Oh, why is this going so slow? Resolving host. Who am I connected to? See, this is the one thing I don't like about this Xfinity Wi-Fi. Get that out of here. Get out of here. We are Mastermind 5G here, 5 gigahertz or 2.4. I am upstairs. The router is downstairs, but we're gonna go with speed over reliability. If anyone was ever wondering what the difference between those is in your routers, you might have two bands. The 5 gigahertz band allows for greater speed, but it is less reliable through walls and things like that. So the 2.4, the usually it's the one without the number on it. That's the more traditional band, and it works better, through obstacles and things like that, but typically has lower speeds. So yeah, if you're, this is not where I'm in the wrong place. If you're interested in the Wi-Fi action, if you're ever interested in the game, in the home tech game, that's just a little bit that I've given you. So let me give you the link here. They switched this up, and you already knew that every time I had to talk my way through it. So this time I'm gonna have to do it again. I want anyone to have it. No. You owner, get link. What happens if I copy link? No, hold on. Editor, viewer, change link to mastermind. Anyone okay, here we go. Anyone with the link. I did it the new way. I figured it out. It's updating, and now you all almost have access, and you'll have access when I click here. And I change this to chat, and here's what I'll do. I'll change this to chat, and then I will bookmark it like I'm supposed to do. And there we go. And now I'll no longer have to change that. And there you go. You now have the link, which should let you in. I'll wait. Let me know if that lets you in. And then we'll get going. Got my water. I've been drinking a lot of water lately. I'm doing my best to. I actually don't really drink much other stuff besides coffee and water, but occasionally, if I'm out, I'll pick up a soda or something. I'm really gonna try for first, I will do a week. I'll take a day or two off. Then I'll go 2 weeks, take a day or two off, 3 weeks of cutting out certain things. So soda, water only, water and black coffee only for, a week, and then 2 weeks, and then 3 weeks. And, for the most part, that'll just be my main thing. And then I'll, once I start to get that down, under my belt, I'll start to add other things to the exclusionary list as we kind of get back into the world as things are starting to slowly open back up. Even though I'm taking my time, I'm not about to be out here at all. Our office actually opened back up today. I will not be in there. I might go in there sometimes, like in the morning, when there's not going to be anybody there, to just have a change of space. But I will be taking all of my precautionary measures. I am trying to get the LaCroix. But after Managed Chaos gave us the reps and repos moniker yesterday, so I'm now part of what I'm going to be doing on Twitter is going on social tirades to see what just fun little interactive things with companies to see if they ever respond. But I'm putting together a little Twitter thread for Under Armour after yesterday's repos and reps challenge. That was really nice. I appreciate that. It's a little bit better than kilos and code, or code and kilos, but and we'll figure out something pretty clever for LaCroix as well. The nicotine patch of soda, I agree. And so like I'm really not that big of a soda fan at all, like, or juice. Like, we don't buy soda or juice. Like, it's not something we buy in the house. But if I go grab food from somewhere, I'll pick up. If I go to Chipotle, I'll grab a soda or something like that. But we don't buy. I can't even tell you the last time we purchased a soda that wasn't for mixing alcohol or juice. I really can't remember, to be 100% honest. So we did pretty good with that. That's pretty easy. Okay, what time is it? 7:12. Let's get going with Intro to Object-Oriented Programming. And like I said, I think tonight will be a bit of a cognitive load, and that's why we're going to keep it relatively, we're going to go relatively slow, and we are going to take our time with it, and we are going to not go crazy deep tonight. We're going to cover a couple of difficult concepts, which I thought about pulling, but I think it's good to cover them now. I think it's okay to, again, toss you in the deep end, and we'll learn how to swim. We'll learn how to swim over time. So what we talked about, object-oriented programming. Are you down with OOP, not OPP? You're not down with OPP. At least do not admit that here on this channel. We are wholesome. We are a family channel. But are you down with OOP? I hope so. After today, you will be down with OOP, object-oriented programming. Let's talk about it. And if you have programming that's oriented around objects, you must know what objects are. So, what are objects? The straight from Google definition, because I want to be clear and honest with you at all times. It's okay to pull things from Google. Okay, so I'm going to give you the Google answer first, and we will start to use the information that we learned from Google. Maybe it's not the best definition that really helps us understand, but we can use it as a starting point to start to figure out what this is. So an object is simply a collection of data, of data properties, attributes, so think variables, and methods, and think functions when we say methods, that act on that data and act on those data. So it's a collection of variables and functions, different properties and things that can act upon the data. So it is really a collection of both data and data types and functions that can perform actions using that data, and that gets sent into one big object. Maybe not one big object, but the entirety of that is an object. And again, it's okay if like you don't understand what that is from that. It'll make more sense as we kind of dive in. So that's what an object is. It's this collection of properties and values and data and functions that can act upon that data, which are called methods here. But if that's what an object is, what is object-oriented programming? And so, a lot of words here. Object-oriented programming is a programming paradigm. So it's a paradigm of programming. It's a way of programming based on the concept of objects, which can contain data in the form of fields and code in the form of procedures. So that's your functions and your methods that code in the form of procedures. And so it's a paradigm based around those things. A feature of objects is an object's procedures that can access. You know what? Last time we read this, I did the exact same thing, and I was like, this is not what I wanted to copy and paste. But object-oriented programming is a paradigm of programming that centers around the utilization of these objects and how to use them to achieve certain goals. And we'll dive deeper into that as well. But again, the goal is the paradigm that we're programming around is really centered around the concept of these objects. Whereas when we get to Thursday, when we get to Thursday, we're actually learning about functional programming, and this week is like paradigms of programming. So we'll talk about functional programming and how it differs from this paradigm that we're going to be talking about today. But yes, it's a way of programming. It's a way to approach your programming based around these concept of objects and how you can utilize them. And really, when we kind of dive into this, it's a very nuanced conversation around objects, but classes are what are going to enable this. So we've learned about functions and we've learned how to make reusable pieces of code. Classes are another tool that we can use in our tool belt to really work with these objects, to really dive in and center around these objects that we're talking about in object-oriented programming. So what is a class? A class is simply the blueprint for an object. So we said an object has different pieces of data. It has variables, it has those properties, it has functions, methods, and a class is basically a blueprint for what's in it. It tells what's in that thing. It says, hey, there's these properties in it, there's these functions, these methods inside of the class. So it's a blueprint for an object. So that's pretty, just a couple words. Think about it. Look at the blueprint image on the side. Think blueprint when you think of classes. Blueprint for an object. And we're going to stop there for a second. We're not going to talk about the 4 pillars of OOP yet. These are the last 4 slides, and then we're going to dive straight into that. So very light intro, very light. Any questions so far about that intro? Let's see. Is this language agnostic? Yes and no. So yes, it is, in that it does not apply to any specific language in particular, but every language is not object-oriented. Go is not an object-oriented language. It has some paradigms in which you can mimic some object-oriented functionality, but there are programming languages that do heavily center around this. JavaScript and Python being 2 big ones, that we can that we're probably going to be using tonight. So it's not proprietary to any one language or anything like that, but every language is not object-oriented. Yes, YGBSM, got it. See, yeah, pros. What's up, Depth Bomb? Hello. How are you doing today? There are examples in Java or Python or something. Yeah, they'll be in a lot of different things. Again, we're gonna focus around Python tonight, JavaScript as well. I don't want to confuse, like the classes in both of them are very similar. And the way we can work with these is very similar, but I find that once you get into classes, I find this to be in my experience, a notch up for people's cognitive load. It's a notch up from functions, a notch up from those things. So I don't want to hit you with too much, but yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Okay, we're gonna talk about the 4 pillars of OOP. This part right here, I don't necessarily want you to spend too much time. We're gonna talk about them. I'm introducing you to them. These concepts, people who have been programming for a very long time still don't have a full concept of them. I don't have a good grasp of all of them. I usually have to brush up on these, and maybe I understand them all in conceptually, but maybe not so much in real practice. All this will take time for you to pick up, but we want to introduce you to the 4 pillars of object-oriented programming. If you were to take a true full CS course, which again we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. But if you take a full CS course, you would dive heavily into these things, and it is something that we will dive heavily into in the intermediate section of this course. But encapsulation, so you can already see, the words are larger. The words are already larger, but this is number one. This is in no particular order, but this is number one. Encapsulation describes the idea of wrapping data and the methods that work on that data within one unit. So you don't really know what methods are yet, and again, right now methods are just functions that exist inside of classes, but we'll talk about that a little bit more. You'll see that in action. So wrapping data and functions really that work with the data into one unit. This puts restrictions on accessing variables and methods directly and can prevent the accidental modification of data. So encapsulation is really this black box idea of where you've kind of sectioned off the functionality and the things that you need in the code to prevent again accidental modification, kind of in its own thing. But the piece of code is a bit of a black box. We're not again going to dive super deep into this at all. We are I'll try to call out, we'll probably go through some examples of we'll probably go through examples of 3 of the 4 of these object-oriented principles over time. And again, these principles aren't saying, hey, you need to do things that you need to set up your code in a way that that creates encapsulated code at all. That's not really what they're here for. These pillars are to help you design and to help you create code that is reusable, that can effectively solve the various problems that you might run into. So that's one. Abstraction is the other. Again, the words seem much bigger than other things we've talked about so far. So this means hiding the complexity. So this is hiding the tough things that your program is doing behind other pieces of code. So only showing the essential features of the object. So you display or you expose the essential features of the object, but you kind of hide off the true functionality and the complex functionality behind that. So in a way, abstraction means hiding the real implementation, and we as the user only know how to use it. A real world example would be a vehicle which we drive without caring or knowing what all is going on underneath. So that is a form of abstraction. When you hop into your car, you probably don't know what is happening underneath to enable your car to go. And this is kind of what abstraction is. This is how you can think about abstraction in programming, is giving someone the car without really having them truly understand what makes it tick. So when you get in your car and you turn that key, you may not know that cutting on that ignition, all it does is it cuts on your fuel pumps, and so that allows fuel to be pumped into the engine, and it allows your spark plugs to actually go hot, and it allows air to start to be a starter spins a little wheel at the back of your engine, and that starts to suck in air, and that air starts to mix with the fuel that's getting squirted in, and that causes an explosion, and that pushes down a piston, and gas is exhausted out of your exhaust, and all the different things that go into allowing your car to start up and to run. You don't care about those things. That I press this button and I change the gear lever and I put my foot on the gas, this thing goes, and it really is a kind of exactly how abstraction works, and only giving the people what they need. Inheritance is number 3 of 4, and again, we're going through them quickly, it's okay. Inheritance allows us to define a class. So we're going to talk about defining classes, and there's a couple different words that go into messing with classes, but defining a class that inherits all the methods and properties from another class. So it's inheriting the properties and the resources from another class. It's getting passed down. A parent class is the class being inherited from, and it's also called the base class. So the one kind of the main class that's being pulled in is the base class or the parent class, and the child class is the class that inherits from another class. So if I'm class number 2 and I inherit and I say, hey, I want all the things that class number one has. Class number one is sitting over there with a bunch of cool features and things, and I say, hey, I want everything that class number one has. I'm the child class, and I'm inheriting from the base class or from the parent class. So that is inheritance. And the last thing is polymorphism. This is the most difficult, I think the most difficult of the four. And what polymorphism means is, someone asked a good question the other day. I can't remember who asked it, but it was a question kind of centered around what polymorphism is, but it means that different types respond to the same function. So it means that you can set up your I think someone was asking about like property overriding or variable overriding in classes, but polymorphism allows for you to write a piece of code that a function does a certain thing, but this allows you to kind of modify the output and write it in a way that modifies the output based on the input, really. And so it's, again, a pretty interesting thing. That is syllabus day. This is certainly outdated. I need to automate that. It's outdated. We are on class 11 of 16. We are learning about object-oriented programming tonight. Again, introduction to object-oriented programming. Okay, that's it. That's all the slides. And that's all the slides because classes just make so much more sense when you start to dive into them. And so what I want us to do first is, because it can be a little overwhelming, the first thing I want us to do is go to W3 schools. And again, while not the best, whoa, what is that? I think they have some good, very introductory ones that we can start to kind of play with. Oh my gosh, what's happening here? And this is why we do the stream from two different computers. Do I have internet? I think I do have internet. Is it just, hold on. I always go to IGN to check. Let's see. What's going on over here? That looks fine. My main PC looks fine. Let's I'll connect to the other one. It's not the window wire. The window wire is on the main desktop. We're doing Wi-Fi right here. So it is not the window wire. That was a good call out though. Okay, so maybe it was just my 5 gigahertz band. We should have went for reliability over speed, but it's okay. What is our speed? I don't even know what kind of Wi-Fi speeds I get up here. Let's make sure we're actually up and running. Hopefully this doesn't shut my stream down. Let's see what we got over wireless. Over sweet Comcast Xfinity. Oh, that's not good at all. That's not good. I have gigabit internet, so this is pretty bad actually, but whatever, it'll do for now. Not a big deal. That's not good. No, we'll stop the upload because that's what'll kill my internet. Yeah, the upload's fast. Okay, where were we going? We were going over to W3 schools, because that's the place to be /Python. And I will share this. Actually, let me go down to the classes section. And the reason why I generally go here, and people have always asked me like, W3 schools is not the greatest place. It's not. It's definitely not a perfect spot. But I do think the examples and things that they give are for easy reference. I think that the way the site is set up, it's kind of mentally easy to kind of look through. They don't give you too many words. They don't give you, the examples aren't too big. I think it's a good place for reference, and it's a good place to start and to go back and see kind of the stuff that we've talked about over here. I mean, throughout that time. Lots of static. Oh no. Let's see. Oh, actually, I'm not even looking at my, I wonder, maybe we should stop torrenting. How about that? That might help just a little bit. It might help a little bit if we stop. I'm only half joking. I'm torrenting. I torrent ISOs for Linux images. Like I've, my computer's connected to the internet all day, so I make sure people can get them quickly. So I have them here. And the occasional movie every now and then, you know. Just, I'm not here to lie to you. I'm not here to lie to you, you know? What is torrenting? Torrenting, you remember like LimeWire? It's peer-to-peer sharing. So it's basically you and all of your friends right now have a movie. You have Hobbs and Shaw. You have Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw, and basically all of you can use some type of client, and you can all you have that file on your computer, and if I want that movie, I can say, hey everybody, I want Hobbs and Shaw, and I can download a piece of it from each of you, so that you know, your internet, you can lend me some of that data. There's not too much stress on a single server. It allows me to pull you know, complete pieces of data from many different places. It can be illegal if you do Hobbs and Shaw. It's certainly illegal, but it is also used for things like open source software. Again, like getting ISO files. It helps because you know, data transfer and things from a server. If I was Ubuntu, if I was Canonical, you know, they have money to do it, but you know, if I want people to be able to get my big ISO that I'm having everyone download so they can install Linux, it kind of helps if you know, if I can lend that to everyone else's internet rather than just my servers. So, you know, it's used for both good things and terrible things. So, you know, I would say look into it. I'm not advising anyone do it, because it is illegal. Comcast will send you a letter if you are torrenting things and you're sharing too much information. They will say, hey, stop what you're doing, I'm gonna get you in trouble. So be careful. Definitely be careful out there. Yes, torrenting is not illegal. Torrenting copyrighted material is in fact illegal. So you are absolutely correct. Remember when they had 150 backups that didn't exist? You know, it's okay. I do remember when Pirate Bay got seized. Pretty crazy, pretty wild. Okay, yes, let's talk about Python and classes. And you're gonna see here as soon as we get into it why I want to take it a little bit slow. Because you're gonna have a lot of questions, and you're gonna have questions that I don't have the answers to be 100% honest. But let's talk about it. I'll be honest with you right up front. I am not a fan of object-oriented programming. I almost never choose to program in this paradigm if I can avoid it. There's absolutely times in which it makes sense. There are a lot of people who, for the most part, only program in this paradigm. But I'm sorry. I'm not a fan of OOP. So I'm technically not fully down with OOP, but it's okay. It's all right. So don't let that sway you into what you do. And it's just, I think most of that comes from, I think when I started learning how to program, the people who helped me actually taught me a little more of a functional way. It's not only functional versus object oriented, but I think that I tend to lean towards more of a functional programming type of feel. But yeah, so Python is an object-oriented programming language. So Python is in fact one that is object-oriented. Almost everything in Python is an object. So many of the things that you've already done, you're actually interacting with objects. They're Python objects, and they have properties and methods inside of them. And then again, we'll talk about those methods. The word method will make more sense after tonight. A class is like an object constructor or a blueprint for creating objects. Look at that. And I didn't even take that from here, but look at that. I think they took it from me. I think someone at W3 Schools saw me say that a few minutes ago and just updated this to say it's a blueprint, because obviously I came up with that first, because again, I'm the smartest. So create a class. So they take us right into it. They don't even, this is kind of why I like W3 Schools. There's a million places you can go on the internet to find out like a definition of a class and kind of understand what that is. And they give you a little bit here, but they only give you a couple of sentences, and then they help you dive right in. And again, that may be confusing, that may not work, but I do like it as a resource to be able to jump right in. So create a class, name my class with property named X. So we're going to actually open up our own file today, and we are going to be doing these things manually in our browser, in our file, so that we can mess around as much as we'd like. Again, you can use your own file to do this, or you can hop into repl.it if you want to follow along and you're not all set up to run Python. But let's do it. Let's hop in. I'm going to use Vim. You should use VS Code. I was in here because I wanted to show you guys a program that we wrote during the Python class and show you kind of how we use classes tonight. So we're gonna get there. I'm actually gonna leave this tab up so that I do not forget to show you how we did it. Now, this is not a quality piece of code. It's something that we did for fun, and I actually really encourage people to go watch that, to watch how we explored and how we fumbled through a big project. Well, not a big project, but a project over 2 classes. I think we had a good time. Me and Terrence had a good time doing it, and we got something that works. It actually works. We can play a game of blackjack, which we will do tonight as well. But let's open up a new tab. Was it Control T, Control Shift T? And I gotta fix that. Actually, I'm gonna do that right now because I'm tired of seeing it. Even though this is my main ZSHRC. Let's see. How do you comment multiple things at once? I always forget. I remembered once. V. Down, shift, I, let's do that, escape, there we go. All right, cool, we'll do that. So we don't see that anymore. Okay, I'm gonna go into my documents. Wow. / documents. We're gonna go into our mastermind folder, and I'm gonna make a, deCoded class examples. Sure. Yeah. I'm gonna make a directory called classes. And I'm gonna go in there. All right. And so all we're gonna do is we are going to open up a file. So again, if you're in VS Code, go ahead and click file, new file, however you want to open up a file, go ahead and do it. If you're struggling getting a file opened and knowing where it is, again, head over to repl.it if you want to follow along. But I think you can learn a lot tonight, even if you don't. So we're gonna make a file called classes.py, and here we go. I should have said that because that made it sound like I was gonna start typing immediately, but when I said here we go, I really meant here we go with getting a sip of water because your boy is a little bit thirsty. I use Babby. Oh no. How did your Twitch chat show up in stream before the actual chat? Really? Does it? Does it? That's kind of interesting. Oh, but no, that's weird, actually. Oh, I wonder if Twitch does. I wonder if they artificially delay things to try to like make the flow a little bit better. I don't know. That's very interesting. I never even thought about that. I will actually watch and see what that looks like. That's pretty interesting. Baby or Babby, I never heard of that. So it's a nano-like editor. I'll check. Let me. I'll check that out after this. I'm a fan of checking out new editors, to be 100% honest. Advanced Vim. I'm certainly not an advanced Vim user yet. Everyone needs. I'm going to share. Hold on. Everyone, this brought me joy. There's a good, great video by Prime about, the simple 2 steps needed to, get into Vim. Whoa. I think it's very interesting. I think it's a good watch. It's a very good watch about Vim, but I do enjoy, I actually am having just a good time learning more and more about Vim. Again, it's not the most practical. It can be very fast if you're willing to put in the work, but yeah, it's all good. First time in the channel on Elder's profile to help me take. Hey, I appreciate that. Arrhythmia. Good name. I really do appreciate that. That is genuinely why we do it, for no other reason. I really do. I think tech can be the great equalizer for a lot of people. If you can give access to anyone who wants it, that's great. Truly the goal is over the next few months is to really I've kind of just been learning, doing this and learning. The goal is to make this a genuine, real boot camp, like the exact same boot camp that you would get if you went and spent $18,000. And I think there's a genuine path forward for it. It takes a little bit of work. I do have a full-time job right now, which I will be leaving sometime this year. But the goal is to really do that and to make it exactly that. So, not for everyone, but a realistic option for people who may not have anything else to do or have the resources to go anywhere else or do anything else. Again, if we can figure out a way to get people, you know, $50 Chromebooks and, you know, get them some free McDonald's Wi-Fi, they may be able to participate. So I don't know, just lowering the bar a little bit to who can access it. Vim was hard before Google existed. I'm sure it would be. Definitely sure it would be very tough without Google, because I do a lot of Vim Googling daily, on the daily. Okay. So yeah, you probably don't have Vim installed. You do not need Vim installed. Again, open up, you can use Visual Studio Code. If you would prefer to use Visual Studio Code, we were writing some Terraform code last night. That's what I have here. But if you're using Visual Studio Code, just, or whatever text editor you would like, file, new file, and just create yourself some type of Python file, or head over again to REPL. I always forget. Yeah, REPL.it is the place that you can go to just get started and give yourself a little bit of a workspace to kind of get running with. Really nice, really easy. Okay, so let's take a look at what we're learning here. So creating a class. So we talked about these classes, we talked about these objects, and that a class is a blueprint for. The way that you create a class is to use the class keyword, same way we use the function keyword to create a function. Type in class and the name of your class, and this is specifically in Python, and a colon here, and you can put some stuff in there. So we're going to type exactly what they have right here. So we're going to make a class called my class, and we're going to set x equal to 5 so that we can see what it is and what it does when we do this. So we're going to type in class, and it turns red because it's a keyword, and we're going to call it my class exactly how they have it with the colon here, and they just set x equal to 5. Now, besides the keyword class, this is not anything crazy wild yet. This is looks like things we've done. We know when we set x equal to 5, we know that we are declaring a variable and assigning it a value of 5, and we're declaring this class here, and we're giving it a name, my class. So nice. That's great. We did that, and maybe let's run it. So it says try it yourself. Let's run it, and let's see what happens when we do that. Whoops. And I'm gonna go Python 3 classes.py, and nothing happens. I think hopefully at this point you're starting to see that why nothing happens, and nothing happens because we didn't tell it to do anything. We told it to do nothing, but we've never dealt with classes before, so I think it's okay to try it out. You know, we made a class and we ran it. Maybe a class does something different than a function does. Maybe it does, you know, something different than we know. But right now we've declared this class here. We've set equal to 5. But if we try to run this program, it does nothing. We set up a space for this object. We've done nothing with this object. What happens if we try to, I don't know, print out, what if we try to print out the class? We created a class. We know that when we try to print functions, we call that function. But we don't know how to do anything with class. Again, play around with it a little bit. So let's try, see what happens when you do print my class. Created a class called my class. What happens if I try to print my class? Who knows what's gonna happen? I have no idea. And look at that, we do not get an error. We don't get an error, but we do get some weird things we've never seen before. Class _ main dot my class. And what this did is this actually is printing out this object for you. But because this object is a collection of certain things, this is how it's presented to you because of the way that we attempted to access this class. So we didn't get an error, but you can see that this is kind of how we printed out the reference for this class. So again, it's okay to mess around and try out some different things, but without that, this is how you define a class. And inside of the class, we just set a variable x and we set it equal to 5. So nothing too crazy there. Now, the next thing it says is create an object. And it says now we can use this class named my class to create objects. You may have already been thinking, whoa. I thought the class was the object, and no, the class is not an object. The class is the blueprint for the object. It's not actually the object, but it's the blueprint for the object. So you can use that class to create objects, and you can use a blueprint. We could use a single blueprint for a house, for a home, to create as many houses as we want. And so same concept applies here. We have, once you create the blueprint for this class, the blueprint for the object, you can use that blueprint to create as many objects as you want. So that is what we will do here in a second. I do not recommend using Vim right now. I agree. If you're not familiar with Vim, dude, I 100% agree. Do not use Vim right now. Use your VS Code, use REPL.it if you want to do that. Do we only use Python here? Nope. We will do a couple different things. JavaScript and Go are generally what we'll use. Usually we use Python and Go, but Python's definitely the programming language that we're going to kind of center around, at least for this course. The intermediate course will actually probably center around the intermediate 8 weeks. We'll again use a lot of these things, but it'll probably center around a compiled language rather than an interpreted language for the middle 8 weeks, and then we'll probably switch it up again when we get to the advanced course. So yeah. Let's see. Do we need slow mode? You know, I got some buttons here that I never use. I have a Stream Deck in here, and first off, I have empty spaces. I don't know, but there's a slow mo button there. I can press it. You know, slow mo is not enabled, but I can make it enabled and make it even slower, since she says it's kind of quiet today. But I don't know if that's I actually can't tell what's happening. But what's up, Hamzy? What the F? Hello, welcome to the channel. Good to have you. What's up, JJ? Welcome to the channel. What's up, Zyru? Welcome. Good to have you. What's up, Makuni? Ah man, I'm struggling over here. Jordan the Coder, that was the easiest one. Welcome to the channel. Thank you for the follow. What's up, everyone? We are learning about objects today. We're learning about classes today, and object-oriented programming. So let's now talk about instantiating the class. Let's create this object. Let's start talking about now that we've defined the class, let's talk about making instances of this class. So take a look at the example they have here. They have P1, create an object named P1 and print the value of X. So they have P1 is equal to my class with some parentheses. Those look like functions, don't they? Doesn't my class look like a function when it's written like that? And then they printed P1 .x, and now we might say, wow, what is that? Where did the X come from? What's going on? Let's take this, let's put it into our code, and let's use it. So I'm actually going to not use, well, let's stick with P1. I don't know whether, I have no idea. I have not gone through this, so I don't know where they're going after this, but I'll leave it here. Like, I don't know why they chose P1, but whatever. So what they did is they first created an instance of the class. So this is its own thing. This is just like if we defined a function, it's there, it's ready for us to use if we want to use it. Remember, just like functions, this class will only really it won't only run when you call it. So you need to actually reference it and use it for this code in here to run. So they said P1 is equal to an instance of my class, which looks like a function. Okay, so those parentheses again do matter here as well. And then what they did is they said, what did they say? Print. They printed P1. And so let's do that first. Let's just print P1. They printed P1.x. Right now, let's just print P1, and we will change up these letters and wording a little bit later if it doesn't get a little more clear, so that we can follow it a little easier. And so this looks a little bit different, but it also looks similar to what we had up here. So right here, we had the class definition here of my class, but when we try to print just an instance of the class. That's what we just did. We instantiated this class. We created an instance of this class, and it says main my class object at this. So it's an object, and this is a memory address, but not super important right now. It's not important that you know what this is. You won't be using this right now, but this is when you see this, when you're programming and this is something that you get back, just know that that's an object, and that means you probably have to do something else to get the data out of it that you want. Okay, but they told us to print .x. So p1.x. Why did they tell us to do p1.x? And when we print out p1.x, we actually get the number 5. Okay, why do we get the number 5? Check this out. We set up a class that I told you is a collection of variables, a collection of properties, a collection of methods and functions, or functions that are methods. And so one of the things that is a part of this object, one of the variables that is a part of this object is x. And so right now we have x equals 5. And so if we print p1.x, it's 5. And so if we add another one and we add a new attribute here, we add a new item here, a new variable here, and we set z equal to hello, to the string hello, and we also print, we changed p1.x from x to z, so print p1.z. You take a look at that, it prints out hello. So that dot notation, that's what it's called. And so when we call that dot notation right there, is used to access properties inside of the function. It's used to, and so you've seen that dot notation before. You definitely seen that dot notation before, and we're going to cover some of those things that we've already seen for that as well. But that is how you kind of reference some of these things inside of the object. So we created an object, and that's why it says, you might say, hey, what do we do in the first step if we didn't create an object? The first step, we created the class. Then we use that class, we use that blueprint to create an object. We instantiated the object. We created an instance of the object. Now, just to be clear, that is one instance. So if I delete this real quick and I do p2 equals my class, remember, we can use a blueprint to create as many as we want, equals my class, we create another instance of this object. So they're actually two completely different objects based off of the same blueprint. So now if we do print class 1 comma p1, oops, and we also print class 2 p2, we run this, you can see here that these are at different address locations. So they'll appear to be the same, but the numbers here are actually different because they are two different instances of that same object. They are two different houses built off of the same blueprint, and that's how you can kind of use these things. So that is how you create the object using the class. You have to, you set it equal to a value and you call that class, and it will give you an instance of that class. And this is generally a very tough concept. So if you're like, whoa, I don't know what's going on right now, this is a concept that people have issues with, and that's why we're going to go slow. Ask your questions. I see a lot of questions. Or maybe I don't. Maybe I just see a lot of words. But yeah, if you have any questions about this so far, feel free to ask away. The way to think about objects is to think of a cookie factory. I would love nothing more than right now to think about a cookie factory. Cookie factories sound like possibly the most pleasant places on the planet, and I never even thought that that's something that I never even thought about cookies being made in a factory, but that sounds phenomenal. So I will use this. The factory is the class, and the cookies are the objects. The cookies are probably less of an object and maybe a property of the object. Maybe it's just the way that I don't know anything. I don't know anything about cookie factories, and maybe with the way I'm constructing a cookie factory in my head, that maybe a cookie would be a property in that object. But I don't know. Maybe we'll try to make a cookie factory. You can use myClass.x or myClass.x. Okay, I didn't know that actually. now I'm hungry. I am thinking about cookies right now. I wonder if there's a really good cookie place here in Baltimore. I forgot what they're called, like Midnight something or Moon, or I'll figure it out. But I'll see if they're open, because some late night cookies might be what I want. They always come to you warm. It's beautiful, definitely beautiful. The word instance had me thinking of EC2, like different servers with the same blueprint. Yes, it is very much like that. Yes, correct. That's a good matchup. I like that. It is. It's an instance of this class. It's a different server, same blueprint. P1 is not equal to P2. Correct. They're not equal. They're two different instances of that class. First off, whatever SpaceX is doing, I want in on. First off, one of the things I want to do besides being a fighter pilot was, obviously, if you want to be a fighter pilot, you probably also would be interested in going to space. Your boy actually went to it wasn't the real space camp. It wasn't the space camp that you see on the TV where the kids doing all the crazy stuff, but it was a space camp, and we got to visit NASA. It was actually at NASA. It was actually at NASA Goddard. That's one of the best parts about living in PG County. NASA Goddard is in Greenbelt, Maryland. That's Prince George's County. It was 20 minutes away from my house. So I was fortunate enough to get to do a summer camp there. And I was like, yep, this is the life for me. I'm just gonna go to space, jump around the moon, float and play with the aliens and all that other stuff. And again, then I found out a lot of those people, they get in there in different ways, but a lot of them were pilots and fighter pilots specifically. And my dreams were just dashed again. There's probably other ways in, but it was never meant to be. So now here's the goal. The goal is for LaCroix and Under Armour and The Rock to all come in and see this and give me enough money so that I can go to space. That's really, that's what we're doing this for. Impromptu space trips for fun. It's pretty exciting. Let's see. I'm relatively new to programming. Python was taught in school. I remember being so intimidated by OOP. Yeah, I agree. I was very intimidated by object-oriented programming when I first started learning how to code. And like I said, I'm gonna be honest with you all, I had to try to learn how to code 3 times. It wasn't until the 3rd time that I really picked it up seriously that I actually started to really understand things. It took me trying to learn 2 separate times and kind of giving up to kind of get to the point where I started to really cement the concepts. Some of that came out of doing it alone. Again, that's why I always encourage you all to, have just people you're comfortable talking to around. Like, find someone on the internet, find someone that you can just bounce things off of or have conversations with, because you might be running through a problem thinking it's the toughest thing in the world, and you're beating yourself up because you don't understand it. But then you might find out that most people who've been in the industry for years don't understand this concept. So just I highly encourage everyone to just talk to each other, have a good time, get some context around the things that are tough, things that aren't. Insomnia, thank you. Sharky, thank you. Your name is in blue. Wheat Thin, I like, good name. It's in the weirdest blue that I can't really see. Insomnia, yes, Insomnia is what I'm talking about. It's amazing, pretty fire. Work used to order them. Yo, I'm trying to see how X gets used. So we do need to go into that and see, how to get to use. So again, you can use that dot notation. Dot notation is a new word that we're kind of learning here, to kind of reference those things. So I could actually do P1 dot X and I could do P2 dot Z, or dot Z. And even if I did P1 dot Z, they would be the same thing, because those attributes that I'm specifying in these instances of classes, they're the same things. They're the same exact thing. But we can use that to identify the different pieces of the class. Another thing, when we do something like when we talk about dot notation, when I never told you all, when we do things like grab the and we'll actually see this tonight as well, when we grab the index of something and we do something like you know, variable like this is bracket notation. So there's a number of things you can do to reference things in bracket notation as well. We'll see that tonight as well. But just dot notation, bracket notation, you might hear people say that to you when you're pair programming with them or something. Just, you know, giving you as much as I can give you when I can give it to you. Okay, so we created this object. We created the object. Now here's the fun part. Here's the part where if you've been up to us, if you've been, you know, keeping up to this point, this is the part where I might lose you a little bit. And so this part is the init function, and this functions like these constructors are the things that are intimidating, more so than anything else, to me at least. The init function, the underscore init underscore function, because that's what it is. The examples above are classes and objects in their simplest form. So what we've been doing so far, the examples that we've done so far are examples in the bare bones simplest form. And they're not really useful in any real life applications. This is true. There's really no need for us to create a class that has these things in it. We can just set these variables and be completely happy. We don't really need a class. You can do it, but not really. It doesn't really provide you much use. So to understand the meaning of classes, the true meaning of classes, the true meaning of Christmas, we have to understand the built-in underscore init underscore open parenthesis close parenthesis function. That's not how you say it, but I do want you to know the two lines, the lines in the front, lines in the back, they are underscores. They're two underscores. All classes have a function called underscore init, which is always executed when the class is being initiated. So that initialization, this is the initialization right here. And then maybe I'll put a little, this is Python. So initializing the class or initializing or instantiating. I don't know how to spell instantiating. This is not an English class. Whatever. Initializing or instantiating the class. That's what's happening right here. So this init function, that underscore init function, will run whenever you do this, whenever it is created. So let's take a look back at it and see what they give us. Use the init function to assign values to object properties or other operations that are necessary to do when the object is being created. So this is where we get our flexibility from. This is where we can use the blueprint to create more dynamic objects and be able to use that to create different types of things a little bit easier, or a lot easier actually. So the init function, there's more on the init function, but they stop there. And then they give you an example right here. And I say again that before we break it down, let's type it out. And I encourage you to copy and paste is great. I encourage you to type out as much as you can in the beginning to get some of that muscle memory down. It'll also start to teach you how to use your text editor, because VS Code and stuff, when you start to type in class and things like that, it'll start to give you some options, and you'll start to kind of learn what you can do to kind of set things up a little bit easier. So we are going to pull this side by side and we're going to type it again to get our muscle memory nice and good. So let's bring this down here. Let's put this on the left. I disagree. I don't like that on the left. I think I want this on the left and I want this on the right. That feels much better. I don't know why that felt so wrong, but it did. And get that over here. We got our split screen going right here, and let's copy what they have right here. And this looks like it looks a little bit different. So I'm actually going to leave this here. I'm actually going to leave what we have here, and I'm actually going to open up a brand new file. If you'd like, you can actually, you know what, just to show you that you can have multiple classes in the same file, we'll do everything in here. We'll do it all in here. So this is my class. It may be useless, may not be useless. I'm going to delete all this though, and we'll create a new class. We have a class here called person. Nice, a class of person. And so I want you to start to think of the different attributes a person might have, something that you consider to be a person. What attributes might you consider that they have? And let's take a look at some of that. So first thing we have is def. We know the def keyword. We've seen the def keyword. What does that do? That is defining a function. That's a function definition right here. And so you can have functions inside of classes, and we already brought that up a little bit. So init. Okay, the first thing that's here is self. We're going to talk about that in a little bit, but let's get everything typed out first. Actually, no, let's talk about it. Self is an interesting keyword, and the init function's always going to be expecting this. So the self keyword is a reference to the current initialized object. So it is a reference to itself. It's a reference to me. Every time I instantiate this object, every time I initialize this object, that self keyword is going to be a reference back to itself. And it's pretty interesting. It's always going to be the first thing that's kind of added in here after the init function. So you don't need name and age is in here, but for a function self, this is kind of what a class looks like using the init function with nothing else added into it. But we're going to add a name here, and we're going to add an age. So although this is new to you, although this underscore thing is new to you, this is just a function. Imagine this was not in it. Imagine this was a function called our function, our func. And we know that a function takes in arguments, and it takes in 3 arguments. And we know that these arguments here are just are variables that that are going to represent some data that gets passed into the function. So that's all that's happening here. This isn't a new concept really. It's just using the underscore, and it's inside of a class, so it makes it a little more intimidating. I agree. I understand. Makes it a little bit intimidating. But yeah, there we go. So that is there. So we'll stop there for 1 second. Take a look at it. Take it in, take in the init, take in that this is just a function that we're defining inside of the class. And we'll come back in a second. And programmers often give up because they don't understand it. Yep, I did it. I always, people never, I always try to tell people, I talk to a lot of people now. So like I said, people who don't know, I'm not a software engineer. I do not have a software background. I have a systems background. I have a server. I have an ops background more so than an engineer, than a software background. I do DevOps now. I write a fair amount of software. Am I the best at it? No, I'm not the best at it, but it's something that I've taken to that I really like. I actually really enjoy writing software, and something that I'm starting to dive into a lot deeper. But I had a lot of trouble learning it in the beginning, but I run a software team. I'm a technical lead for an application development team. And you'd be surprised at how much more approachable software really is. Once you start to realize that you're just putting together some tools to solve problems, even if you don't feel like you know how to code, you kind of start to learn what you can do with code, and you start to learn how you can tie things together and see patterns and things like that. And it got a lot easier once I got to that. I had to get to that mental level first, then learning how to code. And once I realized that hey, I'm just using these tools to kind of solve problems, and once I started to understand how that happened, and that mostly all you're doing is taking in data, doing a little bit of maneuvering and outputting data. Once I realized programming was really, for the most part, 90% of the time just that, it was just so much less intimidating, and I was able to kind of dive a little bit deeper. And then again, by that time I had people around me who could kind of help me out, and kind of help show me the ropes a little bit. Again, not a pro at all. I mean, I'm a pro technically. I'm a professional. I make money writing code, but I'm definitely not a software expert. But I'm working on it. I'm definitely working on it. Oh, Sean, that's a big one. If you're running into problems, seriously, stop. Spend some time, stop, walk away, come back later. I can't tell you how valuable of a thing that is. It really, I can't tell you how many problems I walked away from. Even at work, you'll leave work, put the problem down, leave work, you'll be taking a shower in the morning, and then the answer will just pop in your head, and you're like, I got it. All that time I was too focused on the problem, I was too close to it, and and then you figure it out. I actually didn't know you could have attributes outside of the init. For example, what will be the difference between my class X and person.name as they're currently written? So these are two different classes here. So we'll get there a little further, but we'll like the my class keyword and this one, there are two, and maybe, you know what, and maybe for this exact reason, maybe I will remove them. These are completely separate. Okay, so self is going to make a little more sense in a second, but let's finish copying this. So self.name equals name. All right, this is probably a little bit confusing, and we're using the dot notation, and it's kind of a little bit of inception that's happening right here. And what we're doing right here is we're using self, which is a reference to the current instance of the class. So every time, if I were to hold on, let's do age here. If I were to make some instances of this class, if I were to say person1 equals person, and I were to say it just says person, not person1, and I were to say person2 equals person. These are two instances of these, and each of these selves references the exact one of these that's created. And I know it's confusing, but again, I think once we go through let's do this example, and let's see if it provides a little more context around here. So we have self.name equals name, and self.age, age equals age. And what this is actually doing is this is providing this these self attributes. It's providing the attribute inside of this class. It's assigning it to the value of name. So self.name is going to be equal to whatever is passed in his name, and self.age is going to be passed in whatever is passed in as age. And we're going to see that in a second. And then what they do down here is they instantiate this. So the P1 equals person, and they pass in two things. Now, self, you don't have to pass in anything for self. Remember what we learned about functions. We learned that functions, you must pass in however many things are listed in however many arguments are kind of listed in the function definition. You got to pass in that many things, or else it'll fail. And this is the case here, but what you need to know is that self is not something that you have to manually pass in. It's an underlying structure that kind of gets passed in. So yes, self is here, but you really only have to worry about the things that are after it. So we passed in a name, which is John. We'll pass in the age, which is 36. Okay, and we'll do three things here. We'll print P1. We will print P1.name. Excuse me, sorry. That name, and we will also print P1.age. And so what's the difference between this and the one that we did before, the simpler one that we did before? The simpler one that we did before is we were actually creating variables up here, and we were assigning them values right up here, and we were printing those things out. This time we are passing in these values when we instantiate the class. Why is that great? Again, that's great because now you can use this person class to define a bunch of different people. Like maybe I wanted to make a class that had all the attributes necessary for all of you. The students of this class per se, and so maybe I have a class called students that says, hey, I have your name, your age, again your Twitch username, maybe I have your grades for assignments or something in there, and you can put all those things here as attributes, and I could make a different instance for each of you. I could make an object that represented each of you with different information. But let's take a look at this, and let's print this out and just see what we get. And so we get the same weird function thing that we've seen before for when we try to print out just P1, which is this an instance of this class is an object. This is what an object signature kind of looks like. Then we did name, so John prints, and then age prints, which is 36. So what is happening when this when we instantiate this class is, again, this name John is getting passed in as this argument, and then we're using that value and assigning it to self.name. And again, self.name, self is in reference to this instance of the class. So it's really just saying, hey, I'm setting name equal to name. I'm setting name equal to name, really is what it's doing. But name in the current implementation of this function. And so the same way that we have that, we can do P2 equals person and John, and instead of John we got Janet, and Janet is 29, and we printed P1 dot name and age. Whoa, my stomach's going crazy over here. Yank, undo, paste. Let's change these to 2. So we'll print out P1 name and age and P2 name and age. So we've instantiated 2 different instances of this class. That's not Janet, that's Janae. Let's get Janet's name proper in there, you know. And let's see what that looks like. And again, the same class, the same blueprint takes in different values, and again can can present different values. And so this is nice because now once you instantiate both of these people, they're available to you throughout the entirety of this program, and so you can use them to modify data, and you can use them to do different things as you kind of go farther along. So that is an example of using this init function. Let's see what else they have underneath. Let's see how I have no idea how far they go. Let's go a little bit farther to learn the basics of objects, and then we'll play, then we'll mess around, we'll explore and see what's going on here. So the next thing they have in here, actually, does anyone have any questions about that in particular? Oh yeah, you guys got me. You got always. I usually find it. I'll find it eventually, you know. Will person X be like a global variable? You have to assign a variable for the class you have to assign a variable. No. Or do you find them in the class? So you do not have to assign the variable in the function. So I can actually do, I'm pretty sure, let's delete these real quick, and this, I can assign, I'm pretty sure I can assign another variable, like even up here, and say, I don't know if an init has to be first, but we'll see in a second. If I say x equals 5, I believe that I can still do, even if I do this, I think I can still do print p1.x. Maybe I'm going to have to eat crow after I run this, but I'm just gonna tell you what I believe, and I was right because I knew I was right because I'm so smart. And the I'm just joking. Again, I always I try some stuff out. I wasn't 100% sure, but it does not need to be defined. Like if you want the variable a part of the class, yes, you do have to define it in the class, but it does not need to be a part of any function. A function isn't necessary. You do not have to put it under the init, but you do have to put it under the init if you want it to do some type of modification on the input of it, if you want it to be able to provide the value during the instantiation of the class, yes, it does have to exist underneath this init function if you want to be able to have any type of dynamicism like that. But you could hard code values in that class. Again, it's a blueprint. It's okay. It's okay. No, I'm not serious. I seriously, I just be joking. I think it's important sometimes to be one, self-aware, and two, sometimes a little bit confident. But I'm not when I say things like that, I promise you guys, I'm not. I say those things because I know for a fact, like when I did that, I wasn't sure that it was going to work. I told you what I believed, And then I tried it out and I was hoping it worked. And then when it worked, that's when you can tell everybody that you knew you were right. And then you'll be like, you'll just seem so great. Or you seem like an a-hole. Either one, but they both exude confidence. So that is why that's why I do that. That was a little bit serious. Where's a class constructor? Yes, it is that __ is the class constructor, and it is in fact the constructor. I'm gonna do this with we'll probably hop in and do it with JavaScript as well, so people can see kind of what that constructor is. When do you make a toString for an object? So that's if you wanted to see like there's a number of times you can do that. So I could have done, I think you can do this. I have no idea what is it toString? toString's JavaScript, right? So maybe I'm tripping. What happens if you try to typecast this class to a string? This is for my own interest. No. Yes, but I think for that didn't give me anything new. But in JavaScript, I think you can toString that no problem, and I think it will toString. It'll toString there. So you can define variables in the constructor. Yes, you can define variables in this constructor method. You can in fact do that. Oh yes, there is. We'll get there. We'll get there. But we are not going to talk about that yet. You define a string in the class to override it. Okay. We're not gonna do that right now either. We're not gonna make it too confusing, because I think it will. I learned it in Java, but not why I would do it other than printing out the information of variable. Yeah, and it makes sense in context. Not for sure. I mean, I think it's a good practice to do. I use it when I'm like logging, when I really want to find out what's going on through something. What's up, Octave IOJC? Welcome. Good night. I mean, I don't know if the good night means you're leaving, because you say let's code after that. Either way, welcome, great night to you all, or have a good night, and we'll see you next time. Either one. Doesn't seem very scalable. If you mean converting all of your objects into strings so that you can read them, anything scalable if you have enough time, right? That's how I feel, but I guess not. Okay, object methods. I mean, defining variables in the constructor. I see what you mean. Not very. No. Yeah, it gets wild if you. There's other ways to handle. There are other ways to handle that. But yes, it's not very scalable if you have to manually, set up and define those things. You don't want to. If you have a huge class, it seems weird to pass in, tons and tons of things. There are ways to handle that though. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Okay, so object methods. Objects can also contain methods. Methods and objects are functions that belong to the object. So again, all the method is a function that belongs to an object. That's all it is. You've seen methods already. Methods use dot notation to do something. That's how you call them. The same way you call an attribute or a variable, you can use the dot notation to call a function to get something as well. And this is called a method. So let's create a method in the person class. And what do they have here? Excuse me. And so it's important to know this is not part of the class. I don't know if we ever covered this specifically about Python, because we never talked about Python in particular. But Python uses white space to separate components of the application. So it can be tough when I'm writing out some things to kind of see where like the class ends. And it really, this uses indentation to set kind of that scope. And so I'll try to be clearer when I'm inside of the class and outside of the class, because that can be super confusing. That's honestly why JavaScript will probably be a better, we should do some things in JavaScript tonight, because I think the parentheses, not parentheses, the curly braces help to see what is encapsulated within each other. But yeah, I'll do a comment in the class. Yep. And so I'll leave it here. And we'll just put everything above this. End of the class. End of the person class. Because it can be tough to see. Okay, this is where it ends. Everything underneath this is not part of the class. So let's take a look. They want us to put a function in here, and it needs to be in the class. So we need to put it up here, and we'll create another function. So def myfunc. There's a function called myfunc, and it actually takes in self. It takes self in as a parameter, and what it does is it prints. What are they printing? Hello, my name is. All right. So because it takes in self, and the self has some properties, which are name and age here, self.name, self.age, it takes in self. It now has access to self.name. It has access to self.name because it takes in the entirety of self. So it has access to both name and age. And so we can do hello, my name is, and what are we doing? What's the thing that we're doing here called? It is called concatenation. We are adding strings together end to end. There are other ways to do this. We'll do it in another way in a second. But this is one way to do it. And so now we have a function in here. We have another function inside of this class that we can call. So if we call my function, let's actually change the name of it to something a little more descriptive. And let's call this function say hello. The name of the function is say hello. It takes in self. And let's see what that looks like. What happens if you take in name? Great question. Let's try that out in a second too. Let's first see what happens when we do it this way. But that's a great question. So P1 equals person. So we're instantiating the class. We'll pass in the same things, which are John, age 36 here. And then we will also do P1 dot myfunc or say hello. So our say hello has a print statement in it already. And the way that you call a function, you have to use the parentheses. So this is just a function. So you can use it just like a function. So say hello is how we would call it normally, but because it's inside of a class, it's inside of an object, we're calling it connected to that object. So we created an object here on line 10 called P1, which is an instance of this. And then we're calling the say hello function down here. So we do not need to call, so we would have to do this up here. Without doing line 10, we would not have an object available for us to call the say hello function. So let's run this. Let's run it and let's see what happens. And so it prints out, hello, my name is John. And so it pulls in John, and that gets added to self, and it takes that in here. Someone asked, what happens if we put in name? And so we put name in here. We take name, say hello name. And do you still want me to do self.name? Let's do this first. And so let's see what happens if we were to take in name. And it fails. It says, hey, you can only concatenate string, not person to string. So the reason that happens, can only concatenate a string, not a person to string, is because right here we are trying to, these are different things. So this self object, this self, it is it's an underlying constructor reference to the thing that we have here. So we have to take in self to use this here. Actually, no, I think we can take a name. I think we just can't, I think this might still work. If we put this as self.name still, this might still work. And it doesn't. Self is not defined because it's not in this scope. So yeah. So we need to take in self. Would it name work? I don't think name would work. You mean like name and name? If that works, I never even would have thought of doing this. Anything other than self, but I think it will confuse anyone else reading your code because, oh yeah, self is standard. Yeah, okay, I see what you mean. I think you're saying that self doesn't have to be self. Right, can it be empty? Can what be empty? Yes, self is the instance of P1. And so this is not gonna work, obviously. Oh, wait. Why does this work? I have no idea why this works. Name. I don't know why that works, to be 100% honest with you. Let's see if I can see why you all said that work. I've never seen that before, so I've learned something new today. Let me see if I can mentally jump through why it works. Can you use anything other than self? Well, can it be empty? No in a class? Yes. It can't be empty in a it can't be empty if you're using the inner constructor. It can be empty if you don't use the inner constructor at all. But if you can, I think it can be, yeah. What did name work? Why does name work? Let's see. Splendid. Do we always write self? I always use self, just because that's how I learned. I always use self. But again, I also don't love object-oriented programming, so I don't do it a lot. It works because you're telling Python the name is, oh, okay, that makes sense. Telling Python that the name is self. I got it. I do know self is just a variable, but this is interesting. This is very interesting, and I like that. I like that a lot, actually. Now, I find this to be very confusing if I was to look at someone else's code, but I think it makes sense. Yeah. Object, not name. Can you write it different ways so we can see different implementations of it? Different implementations of specifically this say hello. Yes, a trick question. Oh yeah, I'll try. We try it all. We always try it all. Yes. So I find this keyword to be one of the most frustrating concepts out there. I really do. I mean, I get it, but I find it not the most I find it to be one of the most frustrating concepts. I find that people find it to be much more confusing than self. I think self is a little more descriptive than this, and this is when you get into, again, when you're diving a little deeper and you're moving on to things like React, especially this keyword threw me for a loop. And I understood the concept of this, but it threw me for all kinds of loops when I was doing that. But I didn't know you could use a part of the constructor. That's fair. This is annoying if your for class is deep with inheritance. It is. Okay. But yes, I do want you to understand out of this, but we're gonna dive in, we're gonna do more examples, but I want you to understand that this function that is inside of a class, this function that's a part of a class, is a method. It's called a method, and it's, when people are referring to that, that's what they're talking about. It's a function inside of a class. Methods, whenever when you ever see the dot notation, you see a function called the dot notation, that is a method. Yeah. So method, and what else do they have here? A self parameter. Oh, so it looks like they're going to give us a bunch of information on this. So let's see if it's valuable. The self parameter is a reference to the current instance of the class. I said that. I said it. They may have said it a little more eloquent than I did, but I did say that. And it's used to access variables that belong to the class. So again, it refers to the current instance of the class. Self parameter. Well, this is the same thing. Why do they note this and then still write it again down here? Whatever. It does not have to be named self. There we go. It does not need to be self. You can call it whatever you like, because again, it's a function, it's a variable. Self is commonly used, but it has to be the first parameter in any function. Remember, we said that the arguments for functions are positional. The position does in fact matter. So yes, so it has to be the first thing that's passed in. So let's see what they say. Use the words my silly object and ABC instead of self. So it looks like they're just doing the exact same thing, and they are switching up exactly what is passed in. Interesting. Oh yes. Okay. No, man, name.name works. Now this example, see, this example made name.name work for me, and I don't even know how I didn't see that before. Name is just the variable that's passed in, and we're passing. Oh my gosh, that's okay. I got it. Name.name, that does in fact work. See, examples are great. Examples are great sometimes, you know. It does help. Examples help the most when you already understand the concept. So I already understand the concept of classes and functions and variables. So this example right here makes perfect sense to me. Thank you. I half got it when you said it, and then when I read this, I realized I lied to you, and I really didn't half get it, even though I thought I did, because when I read this, it made perfect sense. So there we go. But thanks for trying to help. Definitely, thanks for trying to help. Tell me they were the exact same example. Exact same example of what we just did, and now it makes more sense when someone uses words like my silly object and ABC. Obviously, I'm a little more elementary than I thought I was, and you know, I need people to break it down into little things like this for me. But that's great. I like that a lot. Pretty easy. Now you can have any number of these methods in here that you would like. You can have any number of variables that you would like inside of these things. It's you know, classes can actually get pretty large. Classes generally, you know, in big programs have lots and lots of functions in them for you to use and for people to use to do some cool things. So yeah. Now let's get into you know, combining some of the other things that we've learned a little bit. Let me take a little bit of water. Let's actually, before we get into this modifying object properties, let's you know, just take in what we talked about so far. And I know for a fact there are a lot of you out there in the chat right now who are usually vocal, who aren't saying anything because there's a lot. You know, you get into the underscores, people started asking questions about constructor classes, and people started asking questions about different things. It's okay. It's okay. It's a lot. What did I say in the beginning? Write down those words. If you're like, what the hell is a constructor class? What is the word construct? Why are you guys saying these things? Write it down. We're about to go into 100 days of code, and these are things that you can explore. There's, you know, unless, you know, I understand for some people, time may be of the essence, but for a lot of people, everyone wants to do it, you know, super crazy fast. It's okay. Take your time. Today, you know, just do a little Googling and say, hey, what is a constructor class, and read it, and it may make zero sense, but now you've got a little bit of context, and you start to learn something else, and you come back and you say, oh, okay, now this first piece of this makes sense now, and you pick up a little more, and one day it just clicks, and you're like, oh, I'm a pro now. I understand constructor classes. I understand what this is. I understand classes. I understand the init function. I understand it all because you spent a little bit of time just, again, immersing yourself into what the stuff is, just kind of reading up about it. It's okay. It's completely okay. Completely. Let's see. Never be afraid. So it is tougher when you are doing it on the job, when you're, you know, I understand. I both want to tell people, hey, you know, when you're on the job, you ask, like, don't be afraid to ask questions, and that's true. That is true. But when you're working, there's an aspect of productivity. Not necessarily you should not ask because you should be worried about someone thinking you don't know. That's not it at all. I think that sometimes people perceive the lack of there are people who aren't supported as much. There are jobs where people just aren't able to support you as much as other positions, and it sucks. But it's not always necessarily because the people don't want to help. Sometimes it's because of the level of output that is requested, the amount of work, the workload that's requested as well. And asking questions and relying on people to answer your questions is helpful and a tool that should be utilized. But sometimes you may feel like someone's not really giving you the support you need, but it might be because helping you is detrimental to an engineer's someone who may be more advanced. It is detrimental to their output. It's detrimental to their performance. It will have a negative effect on the amount that they're able to output. This is true of any field. This is true of any mentorship relationship. This is true of any, you know, mentor-mentee relationship. So I do think it's a little weird when people are always like, oh, just, you know, when you're on the job, don't be afraid to ask questions. That's true. But like, just be aware that maybe you might not get the things back that you are expecting to get back because of things like that. And it's worth having a conversation about, but use it as a tool. But everywhere else besides your job, including your job, that should be the first place you're willing to ask. But everywhere else, don't be afraid to speak up. Don't be afraid to try. Don't be afraid to ask the questions. I can't tell you, once I felt the freedom of that, once I didn't feel like people were going to call me stupid for asking questions. Now that might happen too. The internet's a wild place. But once I didn't care and realized there were plenty of other people out there like me with the same question, it gets a lot easier to ask, and you can just move so much faster when you do. Okay, we're making a really good time tonight. Excellent time tonight. This is gonna be good. This is gonna give us some time to again cover. I want to brainstorm with everyone again when we get to the 100 days of code, some of the things that we may want to do during this process. I don't know, I just want to have a conversation about it. I think it's gonna be fun, and I want to think of some cool ways to kind of share it and to make sure that we are I think there's a level of accountability that needs to happen here with 100 days of code. Never letting people, you know, my 100 days of code is a little more lax than other people's 100 days of code. But we're gonna get there. But I do like starting 100 days of code on a concept that is that takes some time to learn, that's uncomfortable, that you can dive into, and when you get to the end of it, you can really feel like you've accomplished some significant things. But let's talk about modifying object properties. So you can modify properties on objects like this. So these things here, these variables and things, these are the properties. The way that you can modify them is the same way that you refer to anything else. You know, you refer to them using dot notation, and then you can assign them a value. So I can say, you know, the instance of P1 right now, if I were to print out P1.age, if I were to print out P1.age right here, it would be 36. That's what we passed in. But I can also do P1.age is equal to now 40 or 30 year later. It's your birthday, 37. And now if I print out, actually, if I just take this line, oops, and I print it again, let's see what happens. 36 a year later with 37. That is important. It's important to know that this instance of the class, it's an instance of a blueprint, but the properties and the things in there can be changed. These attributes can be modified throughout your program, and if they couldn't, that would be annoying, and these would be a lot less effective and important. But you can change these things as you go along, and the way that you can do that is how we're used to. These are variables. Age is simply a variable. So if we reference that variable properly, and we use this assignment operator to assign it the value of 37, then we have the desired output of what we want. What's up, High Tech? Welcome to the channel. Good to have you. Welcome. Come on in. Learn a little bit about some object-oriented programming that we're learning tonight. Okay. So again, we can do that a million times. I think that's a concept that maybe you don't get right now, but I think that's going to be one of the easier concepts to be able to grab. The hardest part about this is understanding how to use that dot notation properly to reference the attribute that you would like to reference. So great, you can do that. But what you can also do is you can delete object properties. We created some, we modified some. How would you delete it? And again, we talked about some of the ways before to delete different things, and the delete keyword is how we can do that and completely get rid of it. So if we did instead of this, if we delete, darn it, I mess that up all the time. If we delete it and we print p1.age, let's see what we get. We get person object has no attribute age. It prints 36 and nothing else after that. So, you know, it doesn't work. It does not work at all. Yeah, you know, that doesn't work. It just it actually removed the thing. So you can remove those attributes. And so again, I like to show these things. I'm glad they put these things in here because I it's important to know that you can modify the things that are in the objects afterwards. You know, creating an instance of them is great. It's a useful tool to help you be able to control data and to understand data and to move data around. These objects are great, but you can perform actions against them just as you would if they were not in this setup. So yeah, there we go. P1 age plus equals 1, though I don't recall if you can get yeah, so you can't do plus plus, but I think you should be able to do +1. So if we do this and we do, oh yeah, we should have done that. We probably have to do it first though. P1 dot age plus equals 10. Let's go up a decade and see if this works. Let's see if we go from 36 to 46. And let's run that, and it does in fact work. I don't think you can do it right in the print statement because of the type of evaluation this is. Plus equals 10. I think I've learned this the hard way too many times, and that's how I know this. Yeah, I can't do it. Can't do that kind of expression right there in the same line. But yeah, there we go. Because that's a number, you can do the normal things that we've learned, those arithmetic operations that you can do, plus and minus and all those things. You can do those to the things in here. Again, the class is really just a structure. It's really just a structure for you to be able to like work with the data and to manipulate the data. But the data itself, like once you reference it, the data itself, you can use just like any other pieces of data that we've learned so far. So it doesn't need to be crazy intimidating. Hopefully that makes it a little simpler. But that's probably all we need. Delete objects. You can delete the whole thing with that. The pass statement. So let's check out this pass statement real quick. Just like a function definition. So we'll delete this. If we were to define a function, this is not good code. Or this is like invalid code. If we were to do def rfunc. This function definition right here is incomplete. It needs to have something underneath, and generally to have something, you use a pass keyword. This is commonly used for classes as well. So class, new class. This is the pass keyword, just kind of says, hey, you know, I have no content here, but I'm valid. You know, this is just something here. Go ahead and keep going, but I'm fine. I count as a piece of code. So that's great. But you can use this pass keyword to maybe to, I don't know why you would do it. But maybe I could show you inheritance really quick. So maybe I can do like new person. And maybe new person is going to take how do you do this here? Do I tell it to actually take person? No, I think I tell it to take a person like this, and then when I instantiate something, I can do something like person p1 equals, I could say new person, but then I could pass in a person, and I could pass John back in and his age. Maybe this will work, and I'll print. Remember we talked about those inheritance and those child classes in one class inheriting another class. I'm not sure this is the right syntax. Let's find out real fast. Person not defined. You actually take in you actually have to do it like this. I never remember what Python wants out of this. Let's find out. Let's see. Lesson 2 required. Hold on, let's see. Python inheritance. Let's see what we have here. I'm not sure how we went from the pass keyword to inheritance. Oh, W3 Schools has some inheritance here. Let's see. Parent class. No, child class. Here we go. See, they use the pass statement too. Oh, just see. It's just person with a capital P. I think this will work. What did I do wrong here? I think I did this part here. New person. I don't think I need to do this. I think I just need to do this. Yeah, okay, there we go. So now we're not doing anything in this. I just want to get it set up and I'll show you what I just did. Okay. Inheritance, again, we said that in Python or in object-oriented programming, classes can inherit other classes. And so this right here, this is our this is the child class. And so it is the child class and it's inheriting from this person class. It is saying, hey, I'm a new class called new person, and I'm taking the thing that I'm taking is person. I'm taking a person. I'm inheriting the person class. So it inherits a person and all of its things. And you can do stuff with this. Now you can use this paradigm of inheritance to do some actually really cool things, but it can be a little tough to follow. It can be a little tough to follow as you're kind of going through things. You can use the second class to modify properties in the existing class and things like that. There's times when this makes perfect sense. When you have a program that's utilizing both of the classes, where some of the data needs to come from the parent class, and there's other data that does some modifications against it to manage other pieces of data. But you can see here, it looks the same. It's almost like the way that we have it set up now, because our child class does not do anything. We can basically use it exactly like the parent class. It is inherited the stuff that the parent class has, so we can use it exactly the same. It's not special. So if we actually did P2 here, and we did just person with John and 36 again, we get the same output. We get the same values, at least if we were to print P2 name. Oh, come on, name. We will in fact get John and John. So again, the classes act the same right now because new person has inherited what person has, but there's nothing in there. What if you want to have a child class that inherits from two classes? So you mean like this, like another class that says double inheritance. Double pass. I'm gonna call it double pass down because I can't type and I don't know how to spell inheritance. I'll be 100% honest with you. I will get it right after at least 2 tries. A double pass down class, and double pass down class is gonna take in new person. And let's see what happens if we do this, and we'll just pass this too. We're not gonna do anything super crazy. And what happens if we try to, P1 equals double pass down Aaron, because I want double inheritance here. It's okay to be selfish sometimes. And we'll print out P1 dot name and make sure that I am in fact getting inherited twice, and it does in fact work the same way. You can pass down these things down if you want, if you'd like. So class something 1 2 pass. Oh, so you mean take in two classes at the same time, like passing 2 classes. Interesting. Yeah, let's try that. So you're saying this doesn't do. Let's make a better class here. Let's see. You said also what happens if you try new person location. You know what? We'll delete this for now before we get too confused, and we'll see what it looks like when you try to pass in when you try to inherit multiple things like this. Let's new person it. Let's just see what craziness it kicks out, or if everything just works. And maybe we'll do it so that we can see the whole thing. Location is not defined. Okay, so let's actually make a quick class that's called location, person and location, and let's actually grab all this and whoa, why did it do that? There we go. And let's have it take in self name, and now let's have location take in state, and yeah, city and state. Let's have a little fun here, and name city, state, not statue, state, and city here, and so now we have another class that is for a location, and now we do have location, which matters. But let's see what happens if I try to call it even though I didn't do anything, and it works. Look at that, it does work, because location is now a defined thing. Even though I did not pass anything into location, I didn't pass in anything to the init, even though I actually have not even defined an instance of the actual class, I can in fact do that. Now, the intricacies of when this happens is kind of how you can take in both of these things to be able to access certain pieces of data can also be very confusing. It's I think the way that my brain works, I've seen this done a fair amount of times, and I don't love it. Gotta be honest, I don't love it, just because again it's difficult for me to strategically follow, but also it's just probably because it's something I don't do very often, but something, you know, I'll dive into. Maybe it's something, maybe I'll try to gain a love for OOP during this time. My opinion is simply that I prefer functional because that is the way that my brain works. We're gonna be learning about functional programming on Thursday, and I don't think it's better. I don't think it's better at all. I prefer it because again, I think my brain works a little bit better understanding it. I think it makes a little more sense to me. I'm more comfortable creating solutions using functional programming. I agree. I definitely think they have their own merits on readability. I actually find object-oriented programming to be very readable usually. Like I can usually read it. I just have trouble sometimes understanding, again, the passing along of information. But yeah, I mean, we'll get there. Well, again, it's everyone's gonna start to lean one way or the other, and like I said, I don't have a software background. So kind of as I start to build more things, as I start to encounter more things, maybe that'll change. Maybe I'll decide I hate both of them. I don't know. Maybe I'll decide I love both of them. But yeah. How would it properly get deleted? Are you using delete attribute? I think you just use del. Someone said something's missing. If you check a property still exists in case it was deleted, I can use the usage when working with dynamic classes. But how do you check if it still exists? I mean, you could I think you can just do like a if you want to see like if, I think you can just do like an if new person dot I wonder if you can do something like this, like if new person dot city. Can you just print this? You know, if it's there, I don't know if you can do this in Python. I think you can do this in Python. Print exists. There are better ways to do this. I just want to see something real quick, because I actually want to see how these I actually want to see if this is there actually. Like what I want to see if this is a like undefined, or if this is I can just print it. Actually, I'll just print it. Because we passed in both of those things, I wonder what happens. print. What did I want to print? I forgot that just that fast. I want to print. Oh, we don't have an instance of anything right now, so that's why I'm a little confused. And let's remove this from the end. And let's go ahead down here, and I just want to print p1 dot city. And I wonder if it's empty or if it's undefined or if it's not there, or if I'm even thinking about this properly. I don't know. New person has no attribute city because, okay, so it's more of an undefined thing, I guess. But what happens if we do, this is actually very interesting. So I actually don't know how to, all right, so person first, then location. Can I pass in 4 things, or do I wonder what the structure is for this. We'll mess around with that in a second. But I don't want to take up too much more time with this because we're just having fun with this, because I do want to talk about a few things that I do think is going to take up about 40 minutes, or not, about 30 minutes. The super functions, very interesting. I do want to dive into this. Hopefully we can find some time when we actually get to the night of errors. I don't even know why I put errors so far in the back, but I don't know. I do want to dive deeper into some of this stuff. A lot of it honestly could wait until we get to the intermediate portions of this course. But one, the intermediate portions of the course, I've already started working on it. I already had an outline of kind of the things I was going to cover, but the same way that the intermediate course of DevOps, so the pipelines course, is really centered around building things. This will be the same way. So like we're kind of learning the tools right now. In the intermediate course, we'll be utilizing the same tools to build things, so we can start to run into some problems, so we can start to learn some of the little caveats and things like that. I think it'll be fun. And again, this is where you pick up stuff like this, like the things that I'm messing around with now, because I don't do a ton of OOP. When we get to stuff like this and I see the way things are taken in, I'm like, let's see what happens when you do this and what happens when you do this. And this is how I explore when I'm doing real code in real life. If I ever at all, like, I'm like, well, I wonder what happens if I did this. Like, even if I know the answer to the problem, I will go and, like, if it's not too much work, I'll implement it real quick and I'll see what happens, just because that's the way that my brain works. I like to kind of do and see, and it really sticks for me that way. But have some fun with it. Don't be afraid to just go have a little fun. Oh no, you didn't really pull me off course. Like, a part of the exploration night, we had like 6 slides. The goal, it wasn't to cover all the pieces of object-oriented programming at all, not even a little bit. Was to get your feet wet, to get you introduced, to show you where you could go to find out a little bit more about it, so that you can start to practice. You will, if you are going to do any of the exorcism problems as a part of the 100 days of code, you will 1000% get introduced to classes very early. What we specifically didn't do one of the easy problems, because the stub code they gave you introduced a class immediately. And actually, I think it's here. Which one? Let's go into, let's cd into, what was it? .exorcism, or just exorcism. One of them, was it Lund? Was it Hamming? No, we finished Hamming. Was it Lund's number? Which is one of the easy ones. And I think they hit you with, and I put some of the answers here, but they hit you with the class right up front. And that's one of the easy ones. So I did want to introduce you all the classes before you kind of hopped into some of that stuff, because you were like, bro, what is this? Why? Look, I've never seen this before. So you can check that out. Is it possible to set a bool for vertical and horizontal axis for a game controller? Yeah. Wait. A bool. I mean, if you set a boolean for the value, that feels like it would just go up and down, or like it would just go. I'm not sure why. Like, why would you want to do that? I'm very interested in that. Set a bool, vertical axis, either axis of a game controller. I guess. You can do whatever you wanted. Would it work? I don't know. I probably would. Okay, so we'll kind of stop there just a little bit. I do have some announcements as well, and then if we have time, we can dive in and play around a little bit more. 2 announcements. One, on Thursday, we'll be doing a talk. If anyone's interested in DevOps at all, so because all of the DevOps Days is a popular conference series that's done really worldwide. Because we can't do them this year, they're doing a thing called DevOps 95, where basically they wanted to have a kind of virtual meetup, but what they're going to do is they're actually going to go up and down, well, really just up the I-95 corridor. So this is I-95, people don't know, is an interstate highway that runs from Florida up to Maine. I believe up to Maine, pretty sure, on the East Coast here. Runs, right by here. But they're kind of just going up and hitting the cities that are part of it. And so I will be giving a talk at 2 p.m. on Thursday. Again, just information. I'm not saying, hey, everyone come to this talk. Is simply so people are interested in things like this. I'm going to be talking about DevOps powered civic tech, and so it'll be a dive into DevOps and civic tech and how it can really play a role in solving some of the problems in civic tech. So I'll be doing that. But the bigger one is you can probably see below, and people have kind of hopped in here before, but I'm a part of the live coders group here on team here on Twitch, and it's proving to be a really dope community. I didn't realize how active they were and how dope the community is. I'm gonna get everyone who's following right now in a second, but they're doing a live coders conference on the 20th, on Saturday the 20th. It's an all-day conference. They actually have front page Twitch access for this conference, which is pretty interesting. But I'll also be giving a talk there, a pretty fun talk on one, a little bit about what we do in kind of the intricacies of it and like what I've learned over it. But that'll be a very short piece of it. The rest of it will be a fun kind of learning thing. Again, DevOps is my passion, but most people don't know what DevOps is, but it's going to be a fun talk, really putting DevOps in the limelight of explaining it through movie trailers. So I encourage you to check it out. It's a short talk. It's like I have like a 25-minute spot on there, but I'll send out the links and stuff for that. I'll give the information out about that, but just wanted to tell you about that. But the bigger thing that I want to talk about is 100 days of code. Now, 100 days of code is a pretty dope project that was started. It's a pretty dope concept that was started on Twitter originally, and what it was you committed to coding for 100 days, and you committed to sharing that on Twitter using the hashtag 100 days of code for 1, accountability, but 2, to track your progress. Pretty simple concept, but when you really think about it, it's a bit of an undertaking. 100 days is 3 months, a little over 3 months and a week or two, but one of the big things with it is to publicly commit to the challenge. Again, there's an aspect of accountability here, and again, it's just a fun way to kind of go about accelerating some of your growth. Now, it's supposed to be 1 hour each day, getting better at your craft. Now, we want to use this as a baseline. We're using this as a baseline for what we're going to be doing, but it's okay if you don't make it every single day. But the goal is the goal really is 100 hours of coding. At least in my mind, that's the goal. So, if you can't code Wednesday or Friday, again, Saturday, add an extra hour, Sunday, add an extra hour when you have a little bit more time, and kind of get that thing done. But I also don't necessarily think it needs to just be coding. And a lot of people only count their actual hands-on keyboard coding as part of their time. I disagree here. I think anytime that you are spending reading, getting information about something you're trying to learn how to do, anything like that, I think count towards the process. And I will be doing a lot of that as well. So I'm going to be participating in this 100 days of code as well. I have a little outline of kind of the things that I want to accomplish, but I want to give everyone a chance tonight to to think about some of the things you might want to be interested in. You might want to, we will address everything that just happened in a second. But what I want you to do tonight is to save some time to figure out what it is that that you want to do. If you have no idea what it is, that's okay. Part of your 100 days of code is to take what you've learned here and start to do a little research on some resources and see what you think you may be able to approach and start to find. I think over this time, you may start to discover some of the things that you may want to do. But I gotta stop right there first off. And NPC Chris, first off, let's get you set up here with the VIP. That's nuts. First off, 20 subs, out of control, to be 100% honest. I truly appreciate the support. Good to have you. I don't know why you would want to be so generous here, but I do. Again, like I said, I do appreciate it. This all the money that comes in here goes back into this channel, and I'm really trying to work on getting some again, I'm trying to work on some cool things to get people credits. Like, I'm trying to really get everyone like cloud access credits and things like access to, you know, maybe JetBrains IDEs and things like that, just so that we can explore a little more freely, explore a little deeper as well. So I think that's super dope. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. Everyone, please, a round of applause for NPC Chris. Everyone who received a gifted sub, thank NPC Chris. That was super generous. Thank you so much. I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what to say about that. That's pretty dope. Definitely pretty dope. I appreciate that. Seriously, like, extra dope. So everyone's just so kind. So kind. But yeah, so one, I'm going to share with you what I'm going to be doing. I want to share with you what I'm going to be doing to, one, hopefully help you, help maybe inspire a little bit about what you want to do over this time as well. So for people who do not know, we started at the beginning of the quarantine, we began a project called Operation Quarantine. And what we worked on during that time was we worked on a project. Let's see if we can pull it up. Cortex front end, I think it's here, but I think what we wanted was Cortex back end. It's open source. Actually, this is one second. There's probably some PRs here as well. Synapse is the back end, and I need to log into Netlify. But what we are building, the thing that I want to build is, yes, just like everything else, there's a ton of resources out here on the internet. So if you want to learn how to do anything on the internet, you can learn how to do it. But the problem is, there's a video out there that'll teach you how to do the piece of this, piece of that, this thing, that thing. The problem is none of that information is curated. Nobody, yes, some people have gone through and made some playlists and things, but you know, for the most part, none of that information is curated. You know, you can buy courses, that's great, but everyone can't just buy courses. And everyone doesn't learn through video, doesn't purely learn best through video. People will learn, you know, through reading a little bit better. Some people learn through auditory means as well. So the goal is to create an open source platform, open source training site, where we can use GitHub to create a space where people can create courses, anyone and everyone. And you might say, how would you do that? We found Netlify CMS, so they're now content management systems that sit over top of source control management tools like GitHub, and allow people who don't know anything about GitHub to be able to sign up for an account with GitHub and to be able to authenticate with GitHub and be able to input information. So I've created kind of some content types, kind of a basic course structure. Like, okay, every course, what does a course need? A course needs, you know, a main track. So if maybe it's machine learning with Python, maybe you're a machine learning expert with Python. Now that's what I want. Those are people that I want to be able to contribute to this, is someone who, well, they know how to do that stuff, but maybe there is a rocket scientist out there that says, hey, I know there's enough free content out on the internet that I can put together a course using content that's already created for people to consume about to become a rocket scientist. And they can go in and say, all right, I have a rocket scientist track, and here are the things that you need to do. So I have a section on this, and in that section are these videos, are these articles, are these walkthroughs, are these podcasts, are these auditory things. And again, it's a way for people, for anyone, whether you know how to use Git or not, because Hugo and some of the other things, I'm going to be moving to Gatsby actually, but because you can edit this content in Markdown, so people who know how to use it can do it in Markdown really quickly. If they want to do that, they can build out full courses in Markdown. But anyone who does it can, you know, do it through this interface, and when they submit it, it'll actually create a PR. It'll actually create a PR where we can go in and we can say, hey, is this good? Is this bad? And we can approve courses and things like that, and you can keep things up to date a little bit more. But I don't know, I think it's going to be a fun project to I think it's gonna be a very fun project to start to try to curate some of this stuff. Maybe something else bigger will come out of it, but I think it'll be pretty fun. I did a proof of concept already, and actually on the board, the thing that you've been seeing on the board behind you forever is actually a little implementation of the original one that I actually built one that consumed the JSONs, but only people who know how to write Markdown could contribute to this properly, and it was pretty cumbersome actually. So that was the first draft. But yeah, so I'm going to be spending 20 of the days, 20 of the 100 days focused on that, the first 20 of the 100 days working on that, and I'm probably going to dive straight into Gatsby and trying to get that up and running. That's what I'm going to be doing, and I'll be sharing that with you guys throughout the process. I probably won't finish in 20 days, but I'm going to be using the first 20 days as a boost to kind of get going with that. What I'll be doing for the rest of the remaining 80 days is I'm going to be learning Rust. The main thing I'm going to be doing is learning Rust while also continuing to build out the application. But I'll be spending 80 straight days learning Rust. I think that learning a lower level language like Rust will really make it, I think it'll really help help me in programming. I think it'll help me kind of understand things a little more deeply. That's when I started to learn Go. I learned Python first, and when I went from Python to Go, man, I instantly became a better Python dev, even though I don't do that much Python stuff anymore. So I forget stuff real fast, to be honest. I struggled a little bit. I struggle coming back and forth, and now I deal with so many languages. You know, I don't really know any of them really well, but Go, learning the concepts of Go, learning Go really made me a better developer. And I think that doing Rust will make me do this, will make me do the same. I don't really want to learn C, to be 100% honest, or C++, but maybe I will. Maybe I'll get there. They're the base. That's the base. But I've heard really good things about Rust. And so I really want to check out Rust and try that out. So that's what I'll be doing. And I'll be trying to figure out what I can do with Rust. Like, I know what you can do with Rust, but I'll be trying to think of some cool things to do with Rust. And let me see if I can log in here. I want to see if I can show you guys the Netlify thing that we set up, because it took us a little while to do some of this and how to get to where we were going. No, this was okay. Yeah, so we did get it kind of set up, or at least we started to get the so this looks like the Mastermind IO site, and so it would be kind of a thing like where there's category like data science, and underneath you may have things like or you'd have the course, and then you have lesson course templates. So the first iteration, just for ease of not having to write a front end, was going to be to use this Hugo Learn theme just to get started, just to understand the caveats of it, just to understand the content entry viewpoint and things like that. And it was harder than we thought, but like it's almost there. And I think that without the data, this is like the data is kind of the only thing that we need for this, because I've actually made a little more progress that hasn't been deployed here yet. But I think I'm gonna dive in. I think I'm gonna spend this 20 days diving into Gatsby, actually, because Gatsby is really cool and actually making a much more of a robust app. This wouldn't have had anything like auth. You wouldn't have been able to log in and track your progress. You would kind of have to bookmark your pages and stuff. But again, it was going to be a nice V1. But I think we're going to dive into making it an app much sooner than we would have before. But I'm trying to figure out, I lost how to get to the Netlify CMS page. Like, I have an actual Netlify CMS that you can hit. I don't remember where it was at, like how to get to it, but I'll find it. I'll find it one day, and I'll share it out, so that people can kind of go in and see how you can kind of enter in some of that information, because I don't remember what we did to get there. But that's what I'll be doing. That is I'll be learning, like I said, I'll be doing that. A stretch goal is I'm going to be doing, while I'm learning Rust, I'm going to be doing exercises on exorcism. I'll be trying to do exercises on exorcism, and I want to commit, but because I'm only doing it for 80 days, I want to commit to that I will have done all 92 exercises on exorcism in Rust by the end of this. So that gives me 80 days starting from scratch. I know no Rust at all, to learn how to do 92 problems, all 92 problems on here. That might be kind of hard, but you know, if I can learn enough, and if I can learn fast enough to knock out the easier problems, you know, in a couple days, I think it might be possible. The harder problems on exorcism are they're tough. They are tough. Not really worried. I'm not really worried about the easy ones. Some of the medium ones are really tough, to be honest. And the hard ones, let me see how many hard ones there are. There aren't that many hard ones, so I think that I could handle this. And you know what? Let's commit. I'm gonna commit to it. I'm gonna commit. 92 exercises in Rust, fully complete, no cheating. No cheating at all. By no cheating, I mean I won't look up the answer. Does not mean I'm not gonna be looking up on how to solve these darn problems. 100% I will be I'm seeing what I can find. But I think it'll be fun. What is not cheating? Yeah, what is cheating? No cheating include? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's a good question. If I happen to stumble upon something on accident that gives me all the answers, you know, it's okay. It's but yeah, use the community. So I think maybe that's something we should put around it. I think you should use the community. And I think you should get comfortable. Maybe create yourself. Now people can be a little mean on Stack Overflow, but I don't know. Start posting there. As long as I've been using Stack Overflow, I've posted a single question on Stack Overflow, and it was specifically about Drupal. I hate Drupal with a passion, but I could not figure something out, and I posted a single answer there, and I got an answer pretty quickly. And so maybe that's how you use your community. Ask the people in the chat, you know, say, hey, I'm working on this problem, I'm trying to solve this thing. Does anyone have any ideas? This is what I've thought of so far. It's also a good opportunity to talk about what you've done and kind of start to learn how to speak about what you know and the things that you're doing. I think can help a lot. But I'm going to commit to that. So first 20 days, I'm going to be working on that application. That application is called, the back end of it is called Synapse. I think the front end of it, I think the whole application is actually gonna be called Cerebro. You know, that's gonna be called Cerebro, even though Cerebro was the thing that was used by, you know, the X-Men to find other mutants. This will be a little bit different, you know, but yeah, I think Cerebro is gonna be the name of it. Synapse is gonna be the back end, with all these still keeping inside the mastermind brain theme. You know, you got to be on brand at all times. But we'll see what we can do with it. It will be open source. But I kind of want to get the beginning structure out there before really opening up the doors to have people commit to it. So yeah, I think it'll be fun. And ASM, no, no, absolutely not me at all. But that's gonna be 100 days of code. What I'm going to also commit to doing, what I want to commit to doing is making little weekly recap videos of everything that I've done, and releasing them actually on. So it'll be a Sunday to Saturday thing, and then releasing the video on Sunday. Just a little short 1-minute Instagram clip of the things that I've done. I encourage all of you to track this in any way that works for you. Here's the thing. I've done this before with people, and I've seen people get really discouraged at like committing to this 100 days of code thing and showing my progress, and then they'll miss 2 days, and it'll like hurt them. It'll like really hurt them, and it's like, no, you've progressed. You coded before this. You weren't coding any day straight, and now you've coded for 31 days straight, and you missed a couple days. It's okay. It's okay. You know, you falls the horse, get back up. It's like going to the gym. You know, when you make that giant commitment, I think it's easy to get it into your mind that, like, you know, once you stop, once you fall off, that you've done yourself this great disservice. And I fully disagree. And I don't know. The goal is to keep going. The goal is to mentally challenge yourself as much as you can for 100 days. When you get to the end, great. You know, however much you've done, you've done more. Whatever you've done has gotten you this much closer to where you want to be or where you want to go with this stuff. I think you can have a good time doing it. I think 100 days of code is good because it gives you a lot of freedom as well. And so I'm interested to see where I'm at the end of this 100 days. And I really want to highlight. I think what I'm going to do is when I start diving into Rust and I start getting a feel for it, I think I'm going to maybe 10 15 days in, I'm going to look a little deeper and set some goals for myself over the course. Like, I need to know what's possible. Maybe set some goals to kind of go, you know, to get to the end there. But yeah, that's I want you to just use 100 days of your time to not be super hard on yourself, but to work towards something that you want, whether it's you know, whether you're trying to get a job with the stuff, whether you're trying to get good enough to build, you know, a certain thing. Just spend some time getting good at it. Write a simple compiler or something. Yeah, so yes, I'm probably going to be doing something like that over that time to kind of, again, give me a better understanding of a lot of these things and how some of the stuff works underneath. I'm much more interested than I ever thought I would be in how all this stuff works. As I've gotten better at programming, you know, it's just something that really intrigues me. It really does. So I'm excited about it. But yeah, HTML5 validator. Maybe I should learn HTML5. I hate web stuff. But yeah, that can work as well. I know HTML. I just don't like HTML. I don't not like it. I'm a bad web developer. Mostly because I don't do it. And because CSS is hard for me. But yeah, what's the URL for 100 days of dev? I don't know. But again, other websites you can use besides Exorcism, if you want to do a little bit of practice, again, HackerRank. These may be a little bit harder, but some may work better for you. HackerRank is one. Code Wars is another one. And I also encourage you to use tools like Free Code Camp or there's another one. Or Code Academy. There's nothing wrong with that. Even though you've already gone through some of this stuff, there's nothing wrong with going through those processes as well, or grabbing a course off of Udemy and trying something. Yeah, Exorcism is free. It is free. And again, Exorcism doesn't really teach you how to do anything. It's just it's a place for coding challenges and algorithmic problems to kind of go through. And it's pretty cool. I kind of like it. I like it a lot, actually. Of course, Coursera, edX, again, any resource you find, share it. I had someone share stuff in the Slack and then message me and say, hey, I'm sorry I shared this stuff, I'll remove it if you don't want it there, because I know you want to share your content. I'm like, no, share any resource you come across that's good for you, that works for you, that share it. I may not get through to you on some things. These resources may help you better than I. Share the resources, man. The reason why there's not a single course for everyone to learn is because everyone takes each of these things differently. Everyone, the words coming through affect you differently. The person saying the things affects you differently. All of it, the structure in which the course is in, what they're going over, how you're feeling during the time you're watching it. It's all part of the journey, man. Share it all. Share it. I'm always so one. I thought it was a very kind thing for that person to do. I was like, oh, that's interesting. If I was, if this was my space to really share my content, maybe that would make me mad. But I mean, not me personally, but I can see why. But like, it was very interesting. It was very kind. I appreciated that. But share it. If I say something stupid, don't call me stupid. That's just mean. But like, again, we're not here. I'm not the expert here. I'm someone who's seen a lot, who knows stuff, but I got a lot of things wrong. There are things that I've learned incorrectly. Have those conversations. Say, hey, throw it in the chat. Hey, I heard you say this thing on stream, but I think you got this a little wrong about it. And we can have a discussion, even if you're wrong. We'll have a discussion about it. It'll be fun. We'll learn a lot. But cool. That's it for tonight. That is, again, what are the tangible takeaways for tonight? Tangible takeaways for tonight is that you understand now what object-oriented programming kind of is. You understand what objects are a little bit. It's that collection of data, that collection of attributes and methods that you can use, that you can apply to that data. And object-oriented programming is a paradigm of programming that revolves around those objects and utilizing and managing those objects. We learned that classes are what you can use to kind of do this. I encourage you to check out classes in other languages just to see how similar it is. But we learned that these classes we learned that Python's class has the init constructor there to kind of create kind of instantiate the class. It'll run every time a new instance of the class is created, and you can do some cool things with that. The first paradigm, or the first argument that it takes in itself, which references the instance of the currently running class, which is interesting. We learned that the functions that exist inside of a class are called methods. Actually, we learned that you can reference the things inside of that object, inside of that class, of an instance of that class, using dot notation. So dot and the thing that you want to reference, whether it be a variable or another function. So that was great. We learned that you can change them in the same way, or you can manage them the same way that we do anything else before that. So if it's a variable, we can assign it a new value by using that dot notation to reference it and giving it a new value. We can still use things like those delete keywords to do that as well. Yeah, we played around with it a little bit. We also learned that these things are classes aren't super easy to wrap your head around, and that you should practice it. It's okay. Take your time with it. You'll get there. We just wanted to get our feet wet with it. We will be getting our feet wet with functional programming next time. I actually think functional programming is an easier concept to learn, but a harder one to master, to be 100% honest, at least from what I've seen. I've seen that people really have trouble mastering functional programming, because it's a little weird. But I think it'll be pretty good. And again, it's just to introduce you to another paradigm, which is relatively popular now, especially nowadays, when it comes to programming. But that's it. That is it. We are so tomorrow is the first day of the 100 days of code. I will in the morning, I will tweet out some stuff. I already have them queued up to tweet about that. My eyes are burning because my glasses are dirty. Sorry. About that. So if you forget, no biggie. But just again, I encourage you to spend some time. Man, my eyes are burning. Have a little fun, and I'm just gonna sit over here and cry like a little bitty baby. Woo! I gotta clean these things. These things are dirty. But that's it. I'm not crying. Don't clip this as me being a crybaby. It really is. My eyes just killing me right now. Looking at the computer screen too long. I told you I stopped working right before this started. But we'll start that tomorrow. I'm gonna start doing writing my application tonight, actually, and see what I can do with that. But that's it. Tomorrow on Horizons, we are learning cloud formation. So we're gonna be doing some more infrastructure as code. Alt F4. You came over right. It looks like I'm crying. I'm not crying. I promise you. Well, I'm crying, but I'm not sad. I'm not actually crying. My eyes are just on fire because look at these things. Can you see how dirty these glasses are? They're filthy. They're filthy. But what's up, Alt F4? How you doing? Good to see you. We were learning a little bit about classes and object-oriented programming tonight. Welcome everyone from Alt F4 stream. I'm gonna give you the shout out in a second, but you came in while we were wrapping up, unfortunately. But what I can tell you is, let's see, cry is it's beautiful code. Yeah, see, I'm all better now. Let me give you that shout out. Alt F4 is a dope streamer, incredibly intelligent, working on some dope stuff, some stuff that I'm actually super interested into possibly contributing to, but something that maybe, what I'm learning when I'm learning Rust and things through this 100 days of code, I can, it'll really help out with that. There we go. I'm done now. I'm done crying. But pretty dope stream. I love to get over there when I can. I lurk there a surprising amount. But yeah, the stuff you're working on is dope. But yeah, you caught us right at the end. For everyone on Alt F4, if you're interested in doing 100 days of code, we're starting 100 days of code tomorrow, which is again a commitment to spending, exerting some real energy over the next 100 days on picking up your craft. I'm not necessarily one to say you got to do it every single day. I know how life works, but again, over the course of the week, try to average 7 hours of the week, working and getting better. Even if you're an amazing programmer already, there's always something else you can learn, always something else in the industry that you can pick up. And again, just 100 days of really getting better, and let's see where we are at the end. Take some notes, track your progress. I think it'll be pretty dope. So if you're interested in joining us on that journey, try it out tomorrow. Like, let's just I'll tweet some stuff, but just on your own time, have a little fun with it, see what you can do. But that's it. I am going to get off so I can eat, and then I can rest a little bit, because once again, I worked right up until the stream. So gotta go get a little food, go rest my eyes just a little bit so I'm not crying for the next couple days. But cool. Let's see. I know 4 or 5 languages. Ooh, that's pretty good. 4 or 5 languages. Like I said, I think I only know the only languages I'm really comfortable with are Go, and honestly, I'm not even that comfortable with Python anymore. I mean, I will pick up Python at any time and build something with it. I'm very confident that I can do that at any time. But because I deal with JavaScript every day now, I'm actually pretty comfortable with JavaScript. Those are only 2 languages I would say that I'm very comfortable with, because I still deal with a lot of languages on the daily. I'll write some Ruby today. I'll write some Go. I'll write I touch a lot of things just because of the nature of the things that I do. And unfortunately, that means I'm not amazing at any of them, to be 100% honest. Being in boot camps, taking care of almost a month of it. Hey, that's true. That honestly, yeah. So just that easy. Yeah, I'm gonna get some. Oh, I can't wait for dinner. It's gonna be exciting. Tomb Raid. That's a good raid name. We need to make a command for that. Maybe I can start to use Tomb Raid to go raid somebody else. Okay, let's head over and man, it's really weird that when your eyes water, I need to look at some science. So like now my nose is running, and I feel like I've actually been crying, even though I wasn't crying. I was just involuntarily I guess I was crying. But let's see who we're gonna raid tonight. Thank you Alt F4 for the raid. I really do appreciate it. Now we are going to extend the offer to someone else. So who are we gonna check out tonight? We're gonna head over to, let's click on science and tech. Let's see who we got here. Swift iOS. Let's see if we can find someone not making games. Yeah, here we go. Adding fleet selection. Just some Unity dev, game, just so many game makers. And again, game making's cool. Coding stream, test run. This person is test running, and I feel like I want to raid them because they're test running. Yeah, let's do it. The Peck Man. I don't know this person, but it'll be fun. Let's head over. So /raid the _. I lose every time. Peck Man. Okay, we'll surprise him. Have a little fun. We'll say hello. Let him know. Let him know that we hope that his test run goes well and that he programs his lights properly. But again, thanks everyone for another amazing class. Thanks for hanging out with me on a Tuesday night. I'll see everyone from Horizons tomorrow. Let's write some cloud formation. Let's learn a little bit about the CDK, the Cloud Development Kit. If you're interested in that DevOps talk, I'll send out information about that. That is on Thursday at 2 p.m. And then there's another one on the 20th. But it'll be exciting. 100 Days of Code starts tomorrow. Take some time. Think about what you might want to do, what you might want to dive into. Even if that just means, hey, I want to get better at what we've been learning so far. Cool, ain't no big deal. It's gonna be great, you know. But excellent, thank you, Mr. Syntax. Appreciate all the kind words from everyone tonight. Appreciate NPC. Thank you so much for the 20 gifted subs tonight. That was wild. I really do appreciate you. But let's go say hello to the Pac-Man and 10987654 321. Everyone have an excellent night. Let's go raid. Let's go say hello.